Meeting is being broadcast live by Chelmsford Telemedia and is being recorded for later viewing by the public. And with that, we will move directly to approval of meeting minutes from April 9th, 2025. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Do we have any corrections, comments, or otherwise? Hearing none, I'd entertain a vote to approve the meeting minutes of April 9, 2025.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of our meeting on April 9th, 2025.
Can I get a second? Second, by Tim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous, 10-0. Thank you, everybody. Okay. The next on the agenda is introduction to Left Field, our new OPM that we're bringing on board to work with us on the Parker Middle School project. And with that, I would turn it over to Left Field to kind of do some introductions and say hello to the group that maybe you haven't met, some of them yet, and so on. So please, David, go ahead.
Thank you, Patrick. So, David Sandin, the project director for this project. Been with Left Field since 2016 and excited to be here. And as we go through the presentation, I'll elaborate a little bit about my background.
I'm Dave Çobanoğlu, Senior Project Manager. I have been also working at Left Field for the last 6 years, and I will be the point of contact for this project.
Brian Johnson, been in construction for 25 years, Left Field for the last 6, and you will see me mainly during construction. I will be the on-site project manager.
Okay. Thanks.
I'm not sure, Pat, do you want to go around and have us introduce?
Yeah, why don't we go around here for the people that are here? We have 10 of us out of 13 tonight, so we'll go ahead, and Tim, if you want to start, I'll go around from there.
Tim Powderly,
Tim is with, Tim is
from the
the,
building committee.
yeah, he's the chair of the permanent building committee.
We'll see you guys later, too.
Matt Schweitzer, Facilities Manager. I know most of these gentlemen because we had a successful project at the high school in the kitchen, so looking forward to another one.
Oh, excellent.
Jim Clancy, Chair of the Finance Committee.
Christine Clancy, DPW Director.
Dennis King, Chair of the School Committee.
Patrick Maloney, Select Board, and I've worked in the past on MSBA projects here in town, and was actually chair of the Permanent Building Committee for a long time before Tim took over, so that's it.
Jay Lang, Superintendent of Schools.
Joanna Johnson Collins, the Director of Business and Finance for the schools.
John Souza, Town Finance Director.
Chelmsford Town Manager Paul Cohen.
All right. Thank you.
I'll turn it right over to you, David.
Excellent. All right, so for tonight, our slide deck is about 40 slides. It's broken into 2 presentations. The first component of the presentation is actually a condensed version of our Left Field interview slide deck. And when I present it, I'll probably slow it down compared to the pace that we presented it during our interview because we're on a time schedule. And then from there, we'll have a slide about the MSBA process, the RFS process for the design and selection panel. We have a slide on the budget, and then it'd be wonderful if we could materialize the meetings for the rest of the year. So we'll, with that said, we'll get going.
David, just be mindful of the mic, keeping the microphone close to you and speaking loud enough to
Okay.
come over the air.
Yep. Thank you.
And the slide deck is the same on both TVs, so whichever one's easier for you to look at.
Yeah, I'll probably look down because then my voice.
That's fair.
Yeah, because, all right, so Left Field was established in 2007 by Jim Rogers. I go way back with Jim Rogers. Many years prior, I met Jim Rogers. He was an OPM, and I was a construction manager. And from there, that's when I After that project was completed, when we worked together, we collectively worked together for an OPM firm, and then he left that firm, started his own, and then I ended up leaving that firm many years later and teamed up with Jim back in 2016. The firm has grown tremendously from 2007. It says 49 on the slide deck, but we're probably up to 50 today. We have a lot of MSBA experience. I have been working with the MSBA since their inception, which they came into their existence in 2004, and their first projects under their governance started in 2005. So I've been working with them ever since. We have a lot of experience with design bid build as well as CMR, and we can talk about those two options in future meetings. We have offices, Boston, Providence, Rockland, Worcester, Manchester. You'll see, though, that this team, we're local. And you'll see that on a slide deck. Most of our work is within the K-12 market and MSBA work. That's kind of the meat and potatoes of our firm. We have a lot of employee retention, and we're very, very excited to be here. As far as the composition of this team, unfortunately, Jim Rogers could not make it here tonight. Again, I'm the project director. I'm trained and educated as an architect, played the role of an architect for years. I then joke in the industry, I went to the dock side, I became a construction manager, did that for many years. As I said, in 2003, 2004, I transitioned to the OPM world, and I've been there ever since. And then, Hamdi, why don't you say a little bit about your background?
I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and master's degree in business administration. And in total, I have 17, 18 years of experience in construction and project management industry. I have managed multiple public projects, including MSBA school projects in Massachusetts. Yeah.
Brian, anything you wanted to add, or I know you
Yeah,
you kind of elaborated when you
couple
first
things,
introduced
once again,
yourself.
when both on the CM side as well as the GCCM side, as well as like the high-end residential side, and then found the OPM side 6 years ago, and really just been doing MSBA projects since.
Thank you. So Brian Dakin to the far left, he's somewhat of a backstop for Hamdi and I. You may not, you may see him on emails. Again, he's there for our backstop. Dan McSweeney, you will probably not physically ever see him at one of these meetings, but he will be extremely instrumental. He is going to manage the pro pay 100%. His job is to make sure you get reimbursement every month on a timely manner. So with certain individuals, he'll be very much a common thread. So you'll see him a lot electronically and by email. Jay Faxton, unfortunately, could not make it here tonight. We found out about this a couple hours ago. He was pulled into a pressurization test at our Waltham High School project that's happening tonight. He offered to call in. I said, no worries, he can physically come here at some other point. He has worked with, I think, a few of you. You may know Jay, and he's a tremendous problem solver with HVAC equipment, and I'll elaborate a little bit more about him after. We also have Josh Brewster. He's new to left field last couple of years. He actually used to work for Sterling Movers out of Chelmsford, so he knows somewhat the Chelmsford group, but he's going to be our move specialty manager. And then we have Adele Sands, who's a former superintendent, and she's here to help Jay and help the project in any way she can. There's going to be a lot of meetings. If there's a meeting that Jay can't attend, and it's obviously, delivery of education related, she's more than welcome to participate. So while we have offices throughout Massachusetts and one in Manchester, New Hampshire, what's important is that this team is fairly local. Brian Johnson is the furthest away, 45 miles, but within the construction industry, that is still kind of average. Hamdi probably lives 15 minutes away.
Lucky one.
Yeah, he's the lucky one. And, you know, Jay's in Haverhill, I'm in North Andover, Brian Dakin as the backstop is in Revere, but, you know, we don't have individuals from the South Shore, the Berkshires, the Cape that are driving up. You know, we are, you know, this team is local. These are not all of our projects. I went through our project list, and I sorted it by town, public, K-12. This is what we came up with. So these are all projects that we have been involved in. Some of us here at this table, some of us, you know, other left field employees. The items that are shaded are MSBA projects. And to the far right, the Bill Ricker column, I have to say Hamdi has been involved in every single Bill Ricker project that's listed on this screen.
So you demoed the Vining School? That was my elementary school.
We're replacing it with a wonderful park. So as part of our interview, we had to answer a few questions. One of them was about project approach, you know, define what makes a successful project. So when I put this slide together, I kind of thought, well, the most important element of a successful project is to make sure it becomes a project, that it can pass the ballot box. And I think the secret ingredient there is to know your audience and what will pass at the ballot box. And then you know, kind of our mantra is cost-effective, educationally appropriate. That's what we want to deliver. And then, you know, we want to deliver a facility that meets the educational needs and vision. I know this sounds crazy, but a building that does not leak, functions correctly, is energy efficient, but also realistic with upfront capital costs too. There's a little bit of a balance there. And easy to operate and maintain, and that's where Jay's going to come in. The other secret ingredient that I've learned over the years is to have discipline with schedule, with budget, and that leads into item E, which at times it's helpful when, you know, every successful project has someone at the table saying no. Not all the time, but being able to say no at times keeps a project disciplined. And how do we do this? We're hands-on, we roll up our sleeves. You know, we like to be involved in everything. While we're not the decision makers, you know, we want to make sure that the decision makers around the table, you know, they know the pros and the cons of whatever we're going to be talking about. Sometimes we are the unpopular individuals in the room because we will say, how much does that cost up front? And how long is the payback? So again, you know, we like to ask sometimes the uncomfortable questions, but we want to make sure that the committee is well-informed before they say yes or no to something. And again, I feel that wise decisions develop into a successful project. So this is a sampling of some middle schools. So obviously, Hamdi and I are doing Tingsboro down the street. Almost done, yeah. They're going to be moving furniture in the next couple of months. It's going to be what I call a smooth landing, and the project will be complete by the end of this calendar year. But they will be, you know, moving in for this September. And if anyone here at this committee, you know, wants to take a tour, you know, we can set that up, and you know, you can just kind of view that as an option, as just another middle school. Pickering and Galvin Middle School, to be frank, they're not our projects, so I can't really speak to them. But again, it's just a sampling of left field projects that we have done or are ongoing. For elementary schools, Brown Elementary, Brian Johnson and I were both involved in that. Florence Roach, again, Brian Johnson and I were involved in that. That's a couple towns over. And Brian, that was completed last
September.
Thank you. And I think we're probably planting some trees, and that's it.
Final sign off and 10-month walkthrough for the MEP, and we're out.
All right. So a project came in, you know, on time, under budget. And, you know, just a successful project. And then Woodland Elementary, again, to be frank, I'm not involved in that project. You'll see that, again, I'm showing projects, but we're not, we have teams all over the place and try to keep the teams where they're not traveling far distances. Billerica Memorial High School, just a beautiful school. Every time I drive by it, I say to myself, that is going to be one of the schools where, at the end of my career when I'm retired and someone says, what is your monument school? It's probably going to be that one. I don't know if I'm going to do another one of those in my career. If that had to get built today, probably could not be afforded. It's just the timing, it was a different timing in the industry. BMC Durfee High School, I just know that was a juggernaut of a school down in Fall River, as well as Waltham, which is being pressurized tonight. So those are just some large school projects that we have done. So we've done small, medium, large, the whole gamut. We've also done addition renovations. This is Wachusett. This is not one of my projects, but we could have substituted Salem High School. I did that renovation back in 2005, 6, 7, 8. It was 4 years of a renovation. In fact, that was the first CMR project approved by the state and under the governance of the MSBA. So we've done it all. And then this slide we wanted to throw in. Hamdi has experience with TV studios. There was a major TV studio program component with the Billerica BATV access facility. We call it the Howe School, even though it's not a Howe. I mean, it's the original Howe School. So this is something that Hamdi can bring to the table as well. For Jay, he is a lifelong MEP contractor, installer. There's not a piece of equipment he has not installed, replaced, or commissioned. He's seen it all. He's very valuable because today everything is going VRF electric. Again, I'm not advocating against it or for it. I'm just making a comment. It is going electric. Some of these systems are very finicky. And Jay comes in, and during commissioning, it's really fine-tuning because along the way, he's looking at the installation. And a lot of times, these systems, if they're not installed exactly the way they need to be, they just won't work properly. So he brings a lot to the table. He'll be involved in the early design, looking at what systems will be looked upon. He'll be involved in as the design progresses through, during construction, and then commissioning, and then post-occupancy. We were very instrumental with Billerica Memorial High School on actually getting the facilities director that they hired full-time. And a lot of times, we will get a phone call 6 months later, a year later, saying something's just not right. Jay goes out and, troubleshoots it. So he's someone that will stay with the project even when the project is done. Move management, it's what we do also. So that kind of comes with hiring us when the time comes. We talked about, let me see, communication strategy. We'd start with a listening tour. We routinely meet with town leadership, committees, boards. It takes a village to build a project. It takes a village to get a project approved as well. We want to make sure that, all facets of the community are behind this project. We will develop a website, or we will continue with using the district website, but, however it ends up, we'll be involved in a project website. We indicated at some time there might be an opportunity to have a ballot committee, which is separate from this committee, but that's to be determined. We'll develop an overall communication plan, and we'll, discuss in upcoming meetings kind of the roles of the committee and how to develop what I would say a very streamlined operation for the committee. These are just an example of a flyer we did for Tingsboro, Save the Date, as well as one that was a postcard mailer for the actual town meeting. This is an example of a website that we developed for Wakefield. And now Hamdi's going to talk actually about your project. So I'll give you that clicker.
This one.
Yep.
Okay, so we looked at all the information available on the project website in the RFQ document, and then we attended the walkthrough and visited the existing Parker Middle School, and then put this feasibility schedule together. So it starts with the OPM contract execution, so which will happen after the May 12th MSBA OPM panel approval meeting. And then right after that, we will start the designer selection process. Tonight, David also will explain a little bit about that process. And there will be some individuals from this committee who will represent the town at the MSBA designer selection panel. So that is a little bit different than the OPM selection, but we'll get to that. We anticipate like at the end of the summer or early fall, the designer will come on board, and then they will start to the preliminary design program. So during this PDP phase, all the design options will be studied. Everything will be on the table, including renovation addition option, code upgrade option, a new construction option. And at the end of this phase, the committee will shortlist probably 3-4 options out of 7-8. And then we will be moving forward with those shortlisted options to the PSR project schematic report phase. And at the end of the PSR, only one option will be selected, and the ST schematic design phase will move forward with those selected options. And during the ST phase, all the drawings, all the specifications, scope, budget, everything will be set, and the SD reports will be submitted to the MSBA sometime end of 2027. And then MSBA will review the SD report and invite the town to the MSBA board meeting in February 2027. And after their approval at that board meeting, they will prepare the project scope and budget agreement and send it to the town. And hopefully the project will be presented at the April 2027 town meeting and approved. Then the project funding agreement can be executed with the MSBA. So we have less than 24 months, maybe 20 months to complete all the phases and get the project approved at the town meeting. And we will also try to improve the schedule, but also we can't control MSBA board meeting, for example. We will submit the project to the MSBA, but it will be in the queue, and hopefully we will not wait long.
One thing that's important here is the red diamonds. Those are MSBA dates that can't be moved. And the MSBA board meets every 2 months, and you need to submit a package to the MSBA 6 weeks before their meeting. And if you miss it, you miss it. So like, if you miss one day, you're really missing 2 months. So, this is where discipline comes into play. Like the first report is a preliminary design report. That's a staff review. It's not an MSBA review. So that's a little fluid. We have it mapped out that it will be delivered the end of this calendar year. Could be delivered a little bit earlier, could be done a little bit late, but it's not tied to a MSBA board meeting. So the deadline kind of can move a little bit.
Yeah, if the MSBA were not in the equation, we could do it much faster, but there are also some checks and balances. So
And just a reminder, this is being recorded.
I didn't say anything bad.
You love the MSBA.
Yep, we explained the timeline between now and 2027 town meeting. And then as soon as the project is approved at the town meeting, we will start to the design development phase. The design will be further developed. The construction documents will be prepared during this phase. And we are hoping that in spring of 2028, the construction will start. And it will be completed spring, summer 2030. But this schedule is also based on the new construction option. Sometimes renovation takes a little bit longer because you need to also move the students from one location to the other. But hopefully, for the 2030-2031 school year, the new building will be ready. We also looked at the site alternatives. The town, at least we know two options for now. There might be other available sites for the project, but we will look at those during the project, during the initial phase. For now, we looked at the Parker School site. The buildable area is approximately 6.5 acres. There are some challenges on this side, like wetlands, stream running beneath the existing school, and the riverbed buffer area. This is like approximately 200 feet buffer area. Also, we need to keep the parking lots operational during the construction, so that's why it leaves us only 6.5 acres. So for the option 3, this is, I think, very challenging because we don't have that many buildable area. But for option 1 and 2, like grade 5-6 and grade 4-6, yes, correct. Grade 5-6 and grade 4-6, I think this is doable on this existing site.
Just to provide some context, if anyone has visited Barica Memorial High School, those two fields, parking lots, and the school, now granted, the school is 4 stories on certain parts of it, but that we're able to fit on, I think it was like 6.25 acres. So just to give you some context, not that we'd recommend a 4-story middle school, but just to provide some context.
Yeah. The site also has its challenges. It's a town water resources protection area, and I think the conservation stormwater permitting will be more stringent to a site without this designation. But also the other site, the high school ball field site, has the same designation and has the similar challenges. But this is a bigger site, can accommodate all design options, all enrollments. But site is not the only criteria.
But I think the biggest trigger here is this site would most likely trigger MIPA. And our colleague Brian Dakin, our backstop, he's dealing with some MIPA challenges right now with his Revere High School project. We just want to, we started as part of the interview, we started looking at the pros and cons with the different sites. So more to come as we roll up our sleeves and take a deeper dive. I'll talk about the money.
Yes.
So as part of the interview, we kind of say, we like to somewhat rip the Band-Aid off, and sometimes that might not help us in an interview, but we like to come in honest. Tingsboro is going back X amount of years, 4 years ago. 112,000 square feet, $629 a square foot. And this is data that's taken right off the MSBA's website. So, we're
That was bid 4 years ago?
3.5, 4 years ago. I can get an exact date,
okay.
but,
But 2022 spring, the project was approved.
So we did a kind of back of napkin analysis for the different grade configurations, different square footages, obviously, the 930, the 1390, the 1885. We did not do an analysis for renovation addition because that can get complicated, and it's all over the map. So we just wanted to provide some in order of magnitude. I mean, we're putting 850, 840, and 830 as cost per square foot. Decisions relate to what the cost per square foot is going to be, as well as square footage. We popped in the student count into the MSBA's template. It spits out what the MSBA template says as far as what the square footage would be, but I think I've done one school. I think it was the Florence Roach Elementary School, where the only increase of the square footage was with special ed, which is common. But most of the time, there's certain program elements that is important to the district, the delivery of education there, and you go beyond the MSBA's square footage template. So, the biggest driver of cost is square footage. So there's always a balance of meeting the program and the end cost.
And just, I want to add one thing, like for this project, for example, telemedia, so it's not eligible. So
Correct.
it's an addition to the middle school project, so definitely we will be over the square footage.
Yeah. The MSBA will let you build it. They'll just say, we're not participating in the, it's not eligible.
And also MSBA doesn't participate in auditorium, so for the middle school projects.
That's correct, yeah.
If you want to build an auditorium, it will be also additional square
Yeah,
footage.
cafetorium.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into the other portion of the slide deck. So I think, Hamdi, this was your slide?
Yeah, just briefly to go over all the MSBA process. It starts with eligibility period, which you already completed. And then module 2 is forming the project team. We are halfway through. As soon as the MSBA approves us, we will also start the designer procurement process. And then the feasibility study will start, and it will continue with the schematic design phase, and hopefully the project will be approved and the funding will be secured at the spring 2027 town meeting. Then module 6, the detailed design phase will start, and then module 6 and 7, it will also overlap if the committee prefers to move forward with the CM at risk procurement type. But if not, all the drawings and everything will be finalized, and then the construction will start. We'll explain that later at another committee meeting, but after the module 7 is completed, there will be also project closeout, warranty period, and MSBA financial auditing period. There is one more module, module 9, but that's after the project is complete. It's between the owner and the MSBA just to get survey from the owner about the project.
And this is a repeat that, Hamdi walked us all through, and it kind of leads into the next couple of slides from a graphic standpoint. So, this is the whole timeline on a if the project was to go new construction hypothetically. And then we wanted to break it down to, okay, this is just the feasibility schematic design. This is just from where we are now to get to an approved project that is approved by the MSBA and town meeting. So, you can see where you are. The design of procurement is going to happen late summer. Hopefully by September, we have a designer on board. We'll put a preliminary design program together, submit that towards the end of this calendar year. And then in late spring, the preferred schematic design is submitted. And it's at that point where you're submitting to the MSBA, this is the solution we want to then carry forward in a robust schematic design. And then this, again, same graphic somewhat, but we wanted to utilize this to just explain that there's certain minimum requirements with the MSBA. Even if you don't want to do a code upgrade, you have to do a code upgrade study. So that's a requirement, code upgrade, and then you have to do a study of an ad reno, and you have to do a study option of new. And because we have 3 different enrollment options, at a minimum for the preliminary design deliverable at the end of this calendar year, you're going to have 7. You could have more. They could be, for the enrollment of 930, they could be ad reno 1, ad reno 2. But at a minimum, there's going to be 7. When you submit the preliminary design program, from past experience looking at projects that had different enrollments, which is somewhat the norm now, I would highly recommend that by the end of this calendar year, when we're submitting the PDP to the MSBA, that when we submit it, we will then say, and we're moving forward with this enrollment option. So that's what's shown. I know the laser pointer won't work, but the preferred schematic report, at that point, we will continue to study a code upgrade, because you have to, it's MSBA policy. And then we would continue studying an ad reno for enrollment A. I'm not saying what A is, but it's, going to be one of the enrollment options. And then we would study a new for enrollment A. When we submit the preferred schematic report to the MSBA, we'll submit those 3 options at a minimum, and then say, we are moving forward with, hypothetically, new. And then we would do a robust schematic design study of that new construction option of enrollment A, whatever that enrollment is. So I just wanted to graphically show how you look at multiple options, then you hone it down, and then you finally get one preferred solution. Hamdi has put together a schedule that I know no one can read, but we just wanted to show that, this is an entire project schedule. There's hundreds and hundreds of line items and tasks and deliverables. There's things that we're going to do that we probably won't even bring to this committee, because there's so many things that have to be done. But we track everything, because as you know, even submitting the MSBA's OPM package, they look at everything, and if there's one little typo, so there's a lot to track. So this is about 90%, ready for prime time, but we wanted to just show that, we've already started developing it and working on it. But we'd like to take a big schedule and bring it into something that's more manageable. So this is an excerpt of the schedule that Hamdi put together that is just where we are now and getting an architect on board. So as you can see, the RFS will be issued to the MSBA on or about May 15th. We cannot issue the RFS until the MSBA approves us, which would happen on the 12th, and then the day after, or 2 days later, they send an approval letter, and then we sign the district signs the contract, and the contract is sent to the MSBA. Then the MSBA will accept the RFS. So on the agenda tonight, we were asking if we could have this committee designate a point person to be the point person for the RFS process. And the reason why is because very important to get an architect on board as soon as possible, and you can see that there's quite the trajectory to do that. It takes, there's a lot of steps. We want to be working on the RFS now. So as soon as our contract is submitted to the MSBA, the following day, on or about May 15th, we give the MSBA the RFS. By their policy protocol, they have 10 days to review it and give it back to us. There has been times where they'll give it to us and say, hey, here are our edits, you need to resolve this with the district, and you need to get it back to us in 4 days. If you don't get it back to us in 4 days, you might not get into the designer selection panel queue. So the ability to be nimble is very helpful. And I would ask if, if they could be someone who is designated, then if, when we meet with that person can reach out to other committee members as long as you don't reach out and you then constitute a quorum. So that's been my experience and advice to this committee. And we can talk about that further. So we're anticipating the DSP panel meeting for July 29th or August 12th. And if we don't get into the queue on the 29th, there will be August 12th and then the other dates. So there's quite the runway to get a designer on board.
So they meet 2 times a month, right?
Correct, yep, yep, every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, yes.
Some of it, from experience, it's not a big deal to get into the queue, and other times, because the designer selection panel can only handle, and I'm not criticizing the MSBA, but they only can handle a certain amount of designer reviews at a meeting. So you go in line. So sometimes it's lucky and you get into the queue, and other times you can have everything done and you just have to wait. So the MSBA designer selection process, this slide deck or data used to be twice as long, and I've decided to condense it. So the items that are not bold, I don't have a slide deck for, because I think it's easy to understand. So the RFS overview, it's a standard MSBA request for services process with a standard contract that is utilized. You can make edits to the RFS, but you can't, we'll say, bleed all over it. Edits that you can make is obviously background data, specific project goals, scope of services, schedule milestones. Sometimes we may push the limit, and then the MSBA will say, no, you're adding too much stuff. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The designer selection panel composition, this is important to note. So it's composed or comprised of 13 members. They're appointed by the executive director of the MSBA with varying areas of expertise. And then there's 3 members that make up the district. It is a member designated by the school committee, the superintendent, and then the CEO of the city or town, which I would feel is Paul. So for this, we know it's going to be Jay and Paul, and then it would be an individual designated by the school committee. Dennis, since you're on the school committee and on this building committee, again, my opinion would be you'd be the candidate. So it'd be wonderful if we can get that memorialized, and we can talk about that after the slide deck. But no matter how this is sliced and who attends from the MSBA side or doesn't attend, you need a minimum of 9 members to constitute a quorum, and as you can see, it would be 6 members and then 3 members. And so the meetings are open to the public, and as Hamdi said, they're typically held every 2 weeks. So the selection criteria is pretty standard. You have to be a designer as defined by Mass General Law, MCPPO certified. You have to contract with MBE, WBE percentages. Hamdi has reached out to the
SDO.
Supplier Diversity Office, and that's in the progress. to get the percentages that we need. They have to have the experience, performance, they look at workload, qualifications, financials, and then location. Now, when I say location, this is interesting. We are working with an architectural firm that is based in Connecticut, in Tingsboro, and they commute, we have never had to beg for them to come to a meeting. They have a Boston office, but a lot of the staff involved in the project actually works out of the Connecticut office. So they can make it work. But the MSBA does look at geography. And what's shaded in gray is important. So when the proposals are received, I'm happy to share them with the committee, but I would share them and qualify it as it's embargoed and not to email and debate and talk about them, because the MSBA, it's very strict. There's no ranking or pre-ranking of the applicants. All of the ranking has to happen at the designer selection panel meeting. Okay, so I'm happy to share the proposals with the committee. The 3 members will get their own packet from the MSBA. But again, I'd ask that there's no email correspondence and so forth, okay? The selection process, so the DSP may request interviews. I think once in my career, they did not request an interview. So what they'll do is they'll review the proposals at meeting 1, and then they'll do a ranking. So if they get 12 proposals, they will most likely do a ranking and narrow it down to 3, maybe 4. And then those 3 will then come back 2 weeks later and do an interview. Okay? And in the event of ties, the chairperson determines how the tiebreaker is going to happen, and it does happen.
And it's online meeting, Zoom.
Correct, it's a Zoom, yep.
So there's multiple meetings with the designer selection panel?
2, yes, yep. Sometimes, I've been involved in 3 where they have shortlisted 4 firms to do interviews, and they would do 2 interviews at one meeting, and then another 2 at the following meeting. That's happened once in my career. Typically, I think they try to narrow down the interviews to 3 firms. So you'll start off with, 10 firms applied, hypothetically. They'll do their scoring and ranking, and if there's kind of a grouping of 3, they pick 3, but sometimes they look at the grouping and they say, well, we have to invite the 4th one because, they were 1 point off. So it sometimes depends on how the scoring plays out.
You have a first meeting to actually kind of wean down 10 to 3.
Yep,
And then there might be 9 or 10 members of the panel there that day.
Yep.
They decide to hold interviews with those 3 or 4 firms 2 weeks later.
correct.
It may be a different composition.
Could be.
The group, it's just whoever happens to show up that day.
Yeah, but I'd have to say the MSBA designer selection panel members, they're pretty consistent. It's the same
Okay.
individuals that
But if you
participate.
play that out, that second time you meet, you actually interview the groups.
Yep.
And then do you actually deliberate, or do you
Yes.
actually make a decision that day?
Nope, you deliberate and make a decision that day,
The same day?
same day, same meeting.
So everyone's already been vetted ahead of time? Like there's no, you don't have to do reference checks or anything like that?
We do it on behalf of them.
Yes, so the proposals will be, you will receive the proposals. And before you even attend the first designer selection panel meeting, we will do reference checks on behalf. There might be some committee members that might want to do reference checks, and then we have to put together a deliverable or package. There's a package that we deliver on behalf of the project of the reference checks. There's a chart of all of the designers, consultants that we have to put together. So there's a lot of homework that is done. But
Some of that's done up front.
it is, yes. Yep.
And do the three people from the town have a vote in the?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, they do. And they will, at the start of deliberation, they will start with you,
Okay.
yeah. To get your comments out on the table first. And we can talk more about the process as we, get there. The award of the contract, so the applicant, Chelmsford, if the designer selection panel says you will, the ranking ends up being ABC Architects, and you don't want to work with ABC Architects, you don't have to. There is a vehicle to say we just don't want to work with them. In my career, I've never seen it happen. It probably has happened, but I can't tell you what the outcome is. But in reading the process with the MSBA, you can say, I know they came up as the highest ranked, we just don't want to work with them. You have to put it in a letter form with the reasons why, and you send it to the DSP. And honestly, I don't know if you do the process again, or like I said, it's never happened, and I don't know if it happening, but it probably has. I just can't give you an example. And then there's links here if you want to find out more information, because there's pages and pages and pages of the designer selection process. I just wanted to kind of give you a condensed version. We put together a budget. I know you can't read it as well, but every month we will provide a monthly report, and you'll have this budget as a PDF so you can see it. This will expand. We track everything. I'd have to say, as a team, as a company, we're pretty type A with the budget. We want to track everything. We periodically will do an audit with the town just to make sure there's not an invoice that might have been paid for out of the account and it didn't come through us, which means it's not on our budget. We didn't know about it. It happens every once in a while. And then for a sample invoice log, all invoices will come through us. We'll vet the invoices, make sure they're in order, they're good to pay. We put them on a log. We bring it to this committee. This committee approves all invoices. Outside of this meeting, we will have a meeting with the district and the town. We'll understand who's paying the bills, and we'll have a kind of a budget pro-pay invoice meeting on how we do it. We have it down to a science. It works well. But, again, we're open to other requests that the town or the district may have. But like I said, we've been doing this for years, and we have it down to a science. One thing on the invoice log, if this committee would entertain it, it sometimes happens when we map out when we're going to meet. It might be the summer months, could be July, and it might be, do we really need to meet? And it's like, well, we're just meeting to approve invoices. And then sometimes it happens around the holidays. And then once the project gets into construction, it is really important to pay invoices every month because we're dealing with Mass General Law payment challenges. For us or the architect, no one's going out of business because we're 60 days out for an invoice. But what we've done on other committees is that if for some reason we're not meeting or we show up and there's not a quorum, which has happened once or twice, there would be one person who would be designated to approve invoices. And then obviously that invoice log is still going to get presented to the committee the following month. So just something if the committee would like to entertain that. We've done it on other projects. And then future committee meetings, May 12th, MSBA approval. May 15th, or thereabouts, we'll submit the RFS to the MSBA. We are anticipating DSP meetings on the 29th or the 12th, but it may not happen January 29th. The first meeting may be on the 12th, and then the next meeting would be the 26th. But wondering if we could iron out when we could meet, right now, once a month. Once we get going, we may have the request to meet more than once a month. But, Thursdays work well for Hamdi and I. I understand that I think there's select board meetings on Monday, and then there's school committee meetings on Tuesday, and Wednesday there's other meetings. So, I would offer, could we do the third Thursday of every month, if that works? We'd like to kind of put it on a calendar and give it to everyone, so it's out there.
Jim, you guys meet on
We
Thursday.
meet Thursdays, yeah, Finance Committee. But that's during September, October, or during March, March and April. So there is some flexibility in other months. It's just those months, there'll be probably a conflicting Finance Committee meeting one of those nights.
Anybody else have anything on Thursday?
I think, the only thing for me, it's just if we actually just pick a night and kind of stick with it, it's just easier for scheduling, so. Like Thursdays are fine, I could do a Wednesday if we had to. Mondays and Tuesdays are bad just because of select board and school committee. But I don't have a problem now through whenever with Thursdays, that works for me.
Nor do I. Anybody else have a problem with Thursday? Okay,
So third Thursday of every month, 6 o'clock here.
sounds fine.
Yeah, and as we did for this meeting, I can make like a Zoom link available in the event that someone needs to join remotely. They certainly could, even like as we get into the summer months, if someone's away or something like that.
Yep.
If they want to join remotely, we can do a link.
The only thing is, just remember.
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth is the.
Oh, yeah.
Was
Is
the
that
third Thursday.
one?
Oh, yeah, that is the third one, yeah.
So I don't want to do.
Second Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, again, we can do it on the 12th, too. So we'll do June 12th?
Yeah.
Okay,
May 15th will be the next one then. May.
yes. And then I'm going to circle July 17th. And then August 21. September 18th. October 16th. November 13th. And December 18th. And,
November 20th.
oh, sorry, November 20th. Thank you.
And can you send that to like me and I'll get it out to the whole committee so that everybody has, because we are missing 3 members tonight. So.
Yeah, we'll submit it. We have a format that we do. And we'll indicate that, meetings are subject to change and so forth, but at least people can map it out. So, okay. So that's it for tonight. I know it was a long presentation. Apologies. But I want to go back to kind of my, excuse me, my agenda to-do list. Any thoughts or appetite from the committee on recommending or assigning an individual to be a point person for the RFS process?
What does the point person do?
We will put together a draft RFS and bring it back. We will forward it around, get comments, get thoughts, and it's really just if the MSBA comes back and there's a certain edit that is very minor in nature, I just want to be able to review it with someone and get a thumbs up and say we can accept that edit and move forward. If it's an edit where I feel we need a committee meeting, then we will call a committee meeting. But I'm trying to avoid having a committee meeting and something very formal on something that might be very simple to resolve.
Did you say that that person needs to attend the DSP meeting?
The point person doesn't have to be one of those 3, but I would recommend it would be beneficial if it is.
So you think that point person should be,
From past experience, it's typically the superintendent.
okay.
Sorry, Jay.
Thank you for volunteering, Jay.
No, I mean, if I'm on it, I don't mind, but I would involve people anyway if there's a.
Yeah, I mean,
comes up.
I'm familiar with a
That's
lot
fine.
of the architectural firms that are likely gonna apply.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'd pony up to do it, but if it makes sense that, you know, that person be one of the three
Well, I think
members.
this
then-
is only to answer like just a quick question if something comes up. in the
Correct, yeah.
RFS document.
Exactly, it's really just for kind of finalizing the RFS.
Okay,
You know, we will,
Well, you probably need all the school information, I assume, and a lot of the stuff that was in the statement of interest.
correct, and the OPM, we will redline a RFS. We will share it with the committee. If you have any questions, you can email us, Hamdi and I. We can, answer them. But it's really, when the MSBA gives back their redline version and says, just hypothetically, you have 4 days to get this back to us to stay in the queue. I want to be able to, call up Jay, and Jay says, all right, set up a Zoom. I'm going to call Pat, I'm going to call Paul, we're going to do a Zoom, and I'm going to say, these are the edits. I don't see any issue with that, thumbs up. We can get it back to the MSBA and not miss the queue. So that's really the intent. It's not, we have 4 days and we have to post a meeting and have a meeting. When I respectfully feel it doesn't deserve a committee meeting.
okay, I move we elect Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
I was gonna say, I'm okay, what was that? Just as an example, I know a few of us were on the email, but the OPM package got kicked back for a couple of final edits before it goes in Friday, and they were minor. It was like the font had to be changed to Times New Roman 12. There were all kinds of just funky little things that came up. There was honestly nothing substantive. So if it's something like that that's gonna come up quickly, you can just say, yes, go ahead and do it, and we can just email out the group to say like what we approved.
Yes.
And I don't think it would be substantive, but if it does, we could always bring it back to the group. So I'm okay with that if you're.
Agreed.
okay with that.
Okay, great. And then, as far as the assignment of design and selection panel members, I mean, just by,
Do we want to finish that vote? So that-
oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was
Don't
kidding.
want to,
I
I
was
don't want a
kidding.
problem with that minute, especially.
No, I was actually kidding. That was kind of a joke, yeah, but I'm happy.
You should have it on the.
You should have it on the record,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Then I would
Don't want to have any problems with the
Afraid
minutes.
someone's gonna think it's you.
All right, so I move that we have Jay fulfill that role.
Second.
We have a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous, 10-0.
And then the next item is assignment of the design and selection panel composition. I mean, obviously by MSBA policy, it's Paul, it's Jay, and then the third person would be someone designated by the school committee. I believe the school committee's meeting next week. The school committee could make that designation, and it would be
I'm fine with it, yeah.
Dennis, so,
So
Yeah.
we can go ahead, I think, tonight and just say that Dennis would.
yeah.
Be the person.
Subject to the formal
Subject to the
approval.
school committee.
We'll put it on our agenda.
Yeah, that we probably should vote too, because they're always hung up on these votes.
I'll entertain,
I'll move that we appoint Dennis as the designer, RFS, third member, subject to final approval by the school committee.
a second from Matt, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's 10-0 as well.
All right. And then the last item that I have, which, it's, we don't even have to make a motion on it because it's really not applicable, but just for invoice purposes, if the committee wants to designate someone to approve invoices, if we don't have a quorum, or for some reason the committee in the summer may wish we don't want to meet.
That would be me.
I figured.
Yeah, that would be me. Yeah, can I make the motion? 'Cause I sign all the invoices for the school, yeah.
Your colleague down the street does the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Is it, who made that motion?
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to appoint Paul as the person that approves invoices throughout the feasibility study process.
So moved.
yeah, I mean, again, it's only if we don't have a quorum or.
At least
you know,
we have it
don't
on the
meet.
record, yeah.
Yeah. And what Hamdi will do and what we've done in the past down the street for Colin with Lozelle is, we'll put the invoice together, the package, we'll send it to the committee. And we'll say, if you have any comments, please let us know within, 24 hours. And if we don't hear anything, then, at least the committee has the opportunity.
So we have a motion by Jim and a second by John. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. And that's unanimous, 10-0 again.
So that is, that's all I have.
Great. Anybody else have anything else this evening?
Just, I guess, as well, so if we did a meeting in the spring of 2027, we would then have to do a vote with that exclusion when?
I think, no, I think it'd probably be within a couple weeks after the town
Okay,
meeting vote.
okay.
Because if you look
Yeah,
at
that's
it,
why I wanted to know how it would affect the timeline.
Yeah, so you're probably gonna have an April election, like the first Tuesday in April.
Yeah.
And you're probably gonna have the debt exclusion vote the first or second Tuesday in May.
Okay.
Which is fine, because you want the town meeting to weigh in. You don't want to go
Right,
backwards.
right.
And you won't have time either, based on the MSBA schedule, you can't, you need ample time to get that information out for that vote, that you can't squeeze it in to the April town election, which is
That'd
okay.
be a special election with
Special election,
with
which
just
would be fine.
one item.
Okay.
Yeah, one item, yeah, one ballot, yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
And we don't have any public comment this evening because we don't have anybody in the audience. So at this point, if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, 10-0.
Great.
Thanks, everybody.